everyone. Welcome to You Plant, We Water, where we focus on combining faith, mental health, and thriving relationships. We're here to help you get that healthy, nurturing relationship that you deserve. I'm your girl, Dr. Toy Flowers, licensed professional counselor and professor of counseling, and my lovely co host.
Hi, I'm Trisha Flowers. I am a minister and a lifestyle coach.
Yes, and happy Tuesday to you all. So, today we have an interesting topic. We're always watching, waiting to see what you all want to hear more about. And it seems, bump, people want to know more about cheating and how to rebuild trust. So, we're going to give it a go. We're going to share some of our thoughts, what we agree, disagree with, and then give you some tips, some mental health pieces, and then we'll talk about, rebuilding trust to the best of our ability. So, cheating.
It's a spicy topic. No.
So, I think the biggest part, the first part about cheating is that you have to clearly define what constitutes cheating and what does not in your relationship. And this, I don't know, maybe I'm being overly sunny because I am a counselor, but I think this should be an actual conversation, right? Like, hey, this is what I'm comfortable with, X, Y, and Z. Do you agree? And I think it's something that should happen early on. What are your thoughts?
I absolutely agree, because what we don't want is a surprise, right? So I may be a person who feels like calling someone without me knowing is cheating, and you're like, no, that's perfectly fine. So I think that setting the stage for your relationship and what constitutes cheating is an absolute 100%. We need to discuss it from the start.
Absolutely. So in the world of mental health, right, we got three buckets usually of cheating. We've got physical, when we usually say infidelity, but that just means cheating. Physical cheating, emotional cheating, financial cheating. Now, under all three of those, there's so much gray area because if you think back to former President Clinton, he would have been in the physical bucket of cheating. But what constitutes cheating, right? Does it have to be full on sexual intercourse, or is it, the acts that he and the person engaged in, or is it hugging, is it kissing? What constitutes physical, right? Same with emotional. I personally think that this idea of emotional infidelity is the one where it's the most gray area, because a lot of people still don't realize that it could be an act of betrayal. And then same with financial, but there's usually these three buckets, right? Hi. Any thoughts about what I've said so far? Making sense? You may not have any. I don't know why I pointed to you.
Hello, Jacqueline. I think that there are a lot of gray areas, and that's why it's important for your relationship to make it a personal thing. So if we stay in the gray area, it's broad, right? So no one knows. I may have one thing, even if with girlfriends, there's sisters, we have different things of what cheating looks like. I could say this for the record. I am a no nonsense. Like, if I don't know what you're doing, then I feel like that might be cheating. Now, that's me. And so the person that willing to date me, marry me, has to know that up front, that I have very low tolerance. And then if that starts, this is another thing. I don't know, I might be sharing too much information, but
go for it.
But once we start, I can guarantee you that I will take it to another level of foolishness that nobody has delivered me from, and it won't be good for you. So that's why I'm like, know the rules.
Yes, she's saying if it were poker, she likes to take what you did and raise it up a level. Latrice, great point. It's the emotional for me, and I want to highlight that comment, right? Oftentimes, that is it for women. Women are more concerned with the emotional infidelity. Not to say they're okay with physical infidelity, but it's the emotional piece that's the most hurtful. And this will come up when you may be watching movies and things, and they're like, did you love her? Right? Whereas for men, it's just tends to be just the physical act, right? And so when you remember the movie The Best Man, and he kept rethinking that physical scene of her with his friend and getting angrier and angrier, right? So to highlight the the gray area, we found what is this called that we found on Facebook? A reel? A meme? I don't know.
A real.
Okay. um, oh, and I lost it. But we thought, luckily, I sent it to my sister. We found a reel that kind of is covering the gray area, and we're just going to talk about it to see what you all think. We'll share our thoughts. This would fall under that bucket, I would think, emotional infidelity. But it's coming from Chris Perry and his content, and he says, texting another woman is cheating. Giving her attention is cheating. Making her feel like she has a chance. Oh, let me go back. You can insert man or woman, right? Texting another man or woman is cheating. Giving him or her attention is cheating. Making him or her feel like they have a chance is cheating. Cheating isn't just sleeping with someone else. It's if you give another man or woman your time and attention, you're cheating. All right. Let's dissect. What are your thoughts, sis?
I think that the texting one is it depends, right? If you were texting and I knew that you had a friend or something like that, and we all knew, that's not cheating just off the back, like, well, you're cheating because you texted another woman. There has to be clarity with that, because when you're doing that or you're saying it like bluntly, there are areas that are not true. Like, this could have been someone's childhood friend that knows you and they're texting. So that, for me, that wouldn't be cheating.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there. I think the way to really tell, especially if you're the one that might be being the betrayer, the way to know if you're cheating or not is, do you want your partner to know about it? If you don't want them to know about that text, you're cheating. I don't care who it is. Like, if you don't want them to know, then this is my humble, then you are cheating. If it's your friend from childhood, then it should be open, and your partner, she should know about it, right? Be like, hey, I talked to Kiki today, and your partner might be like, I'll tell her I said hi, right? But I think if we're honest, which is difficult for people who habitually cheat, they usually have to lie to themselves a little bit about it to make it okay. But if we're really honest, we know when we are going down that slippery slope because we don't want our partner to know for whatever reason.
So I would say secrecy, right? So if it's done in secrecy, then you absolutely know that it's not a good thing. Anything that you are not being open about, then you're doing too much. And even if you aren't cheating, you're leading your way into that, because again, if you wouldn't want it done to you, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Well said, right? And I'm going to take the word cheating and I'm going to add in another word, which will help it make more sense, especially when I say, if you don't want your partner to know about it. The word is betrayal, right? If you're doing something that you wouldn't want your partner to know, are you betraying their trust? Probably. And if it's open and then you're probably not. But I think that also helps clarify things. So I think that word cheating, we all come up with our own definition, but betrayal is betrayal, right? Let's see. I know we got some comments. I know I said I stopped eating Skittles. Yes. Okay. I've been hearing that a lot. It's about the boundaries and respect. Yes. Which is why we have to have these conversations early on, right? You don't want to leave it up to chance. And then, you maybe think, I don't know, it's okay. You might think, yeah, it's totally okay to, I don't know, I can't think of something. Call, right?
Just simply that. If that's not okay, or it wouldn't make you feel comfortable, goes back to the same thing. If you wouldn't want it done to you, then don't do it to the other person, right? So if calling is fine, then calling should be fine for both of us, which is what I led to earlier.
You'd like to take it to the next level.
If we're calling and we're having friends or secret friends or whatever, in my opinion, then I should also have secret friends and calling. But again, I'm not the counselor, so I don't know if that's good advice or not. But it is something that is done.
Well, I'll say this, even as a counselor, we don't have the final say, and it really is up to the couple to determine, right? So even when I'm working with my couples and they feel there's been a betrayal, I have to go with what their values are, not my own. So, and then that's how we'll assess whether that has happened or not. All right.
Okay.
I was looking at the comments to see what people thought, and for the most part, most of the people on Facebook agree. Yeah, I was trying to look for that alternative perspective, but I'm not seeing it right now. But anywho, it's basically if you have to hide it, right? If you're not able to be transparent, then you probably have crossed the line, right? And to your point about if you don't want someone to do it to you, I think even if it's okay to you, if your partner does it, even if it's something that's allowed, right? That you all agree, oh yeah, you can go to lunch with whoever you want. But in this instance, you're hiding it, then there's something there, right? That's
And one of the viewers said, what's done in the dark always comes to the light.
Yes.
And that is true. So that's why it's imperative. This is the minister of me. You can't be God. So once you're doing your sneaking and stuff, it'll be the very thing that you get caught doing, and you won't know because you were too busy doing something you didn't have any business doing. So that's the part that we want to be mindful of as well. It's the key thing. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if you wouldn't want that behavior done to you, then you should not be doing it to someone else.
Well said, right? And that's in the Bible too. That's the golden rule. Jacqueline, great comment. If this person truly is your friend, which they should be, you should be able to talk to that person in front of your partner or spouse, right? And I was saying they should be. So if it's just a friend, right, you should be able to talk to them, engage with them in front of your partner or spouse. And Jacqueline, I'm going to add to what you said. If your partner or spouse should be your friend, you should treat them with the same level of care and respect that you would your friend as well, right? And so I love that. Okay. So now we got to feel the key to working through this in your own romantic relationships is to have the conversation. Have the conversation early, and I'm going to add in and often, because sometimes your views might change. Something that you thought, oh, I'm pretty comfortable with this, or I don't have a problem with that. It might change. You might become more trusting and say, oh, I changed my mind. I don't care if you do that. Or you might be on the other side, like, you know what? Now that I think about it, that feels like a betrayal. Please don't do that. Okay. Any other thoughts about cheating before we move into what do we do? How do we rebuild trust? Yes. Thank you, Ron. The trust and the boundaries have to be established from the start. Well said. And we had a show a while back. It was talking about what are red flags. If you don't have the boundaries and the trust early on, like if you try to have this conversation with your person and it's like a fight and they don't, you already, as the executive producer, big time off to say, run, that's already a bad sign.
Absolutely. And it's good to talk about, right? Before you guys are in a situation where one of you is hurt, and then it may not have even been that, but because you guys didn't even have that conversation, it has went to a different place.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. And just as we close and try to move into trust, rebuilding the trust, because this should help make sense. Oftentimes, it's not the act itself. It is the betrayal, the hiding, that hurts your partner. And when I say hurts, this is probably one of the most difficult things to come back from in a couple relationship is betrayal or cheating. Is it possible? Yes. It is my specialty, right? In counseling, I specialize in infidelity and how do we move through it. And I'm going to tell you, it is hard work. This is not something you're going to come in for 8 sessions and it's all good. We're going to be working together at least a year, every week. There's going to be tears. Like it is hard work. But to encourage those of you who are wanting to rebuild after this, which is the key part, and we're going to talk about that in this next article. It's a choice. You have to choose. Do I feel like I can stay and rebuild, or is it time for me to leave? You feel like you want to stay and rebuild. I want to encourage you and let you know, if you commit to the work, you can come out on the other side with a relationship that is even stronger than it was before the infidelity. I tell my clients this all the time. And the reason is, we are going to spend time uncovering things that have been swept under the rug that probably were never discussed before the infidelity, not to mean that's what caused it or that it excuses it. It's just things that weren't addressed. And because we're going to uncover everything in therapy, couples who stay with the process and who are able to, one, be trustworthy, and two, forgive, do come out on the other side with a healthier relationship. So, having said that, let's talk about, well, how do you rebuild trust after you've had the heart? You shall I go over the first ones, or you want to go over them?
I can go over them.
Okay. Before you do so, we are talking from an article written by, I didn't put my readers on. How to Rebuild Broken Trust in a Relationship, written by Marcus Andrews. And what I love that Marcus said that I think is helpful and we can all remember, he says, trust is like air. We only see it when it's polluted. And again, trust is like air. We only see it when it's polluted. When all is going well, trust is like unspoken. You're not even thinking about it. It's like the air you breathe. You don't have to tell yourself, take a breath, take a breath, take a breath, right? Same is true with trust. It's when something has happened to pollute that it becomes so present and you're aware that either it's not there, it's been broken, something like that. All right, sis, give us some of these. We've got 10 tips on how to rebuild.
And the first one I love, apologize wholeheartedly, right? A lot of times we go into excuses and then we start blaming the other person and we'll say things that, aren't helpful to the relationship. But when you apologize and you do it from your heart, of course, the other person is going to feel a little bit better because it's genuine.
Yes. To that point, in a prior, very long-term relationship, my person had a friend who, well, I don't want to say too much about it. I don't want to expose their business. But what I ended up sharing is a lot of times the reason couples don't get to the rebuilding stage is because this does not happen. Pride kicks in, and the person who's betrayed the trust will not apologize sincerely. And it's not minimizing the issue, not you should get over it, or if you hadn't this, then I wouldn't. No, you need that humble, true, heartfelt, I am sorry that I hurt you.
Love that. Make a strong commitment to your partner and making the changes needed to rebuild trust. So we know that. So once it's been broken, you have to rebuild. You have to get in there and start fighting for that relationship.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to that point, Trisha, you have to reestablish the commitment, because once there was the commitment was cut. There is no commitment. You stepped out on our commitment. So now we have to, if you think about it, and the Bible says that it's a three-strand cord, your marriage, God, and the two of you, right? That was cut. Now you have to tie it back together. You got to put a knot, bring them strands back together. And yes, you can have a new commitment. It'll never be like it was before. Now it has a knot in it. And every time that betrayal happens, you got more knots, but it still can be a new, strong commitment.
I love that analogy. Ensure that there's transparency and openness. Predictability in thoughts, feelings, actions, words must match, which again makes perfect sense to me, because once the person has been betrayed, if you're not being conscious of your behavior, you can be triggering them. You may not even be doing anything, but if you seem like, for me, if you seem like you're being sneaky, now my antennas are up. And so now what could have been, you were just going to the grocery store, but because you jumped in the car and you drove off, and I didn't know where you were going, it makes me feel insecure, right? So now you're combating the cheating that you did. Plus now I'm on high alert because I'm like, I'm never going through that again. So.
Absolutely. And to your point about high alert and a trigger, people who have been betrayed in their relationships actually experience PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. This is a diagnosis that came about from war, being in war and having flashbacks and triggers. The same happens when someone has experienced infidelity. So jumping in that car without telling your partner where you're going, you just gave them a flash. It's a trigger of their trauma, their stress, actual PTSD, right? So predictability, as they stated, is important, because what helps you not have the triggers? Predictability, right? I know on Wednesdays you go to the grocery store, you tell you might have to be like, I'll be back at 7. If I'm not, you can call me, right? All right, go for it, sis.
4, ensure there's a willingness to actively communicate. So making sure you guys are open to talk, because like she said, in counseling, if you guys are not communicating what happened, there are issues that can resurface and you'll still feel that same kind of trauma or urge.
Yes, yes, yes. And thank you for that, Latrice. Rebuilding, right? We have to think about it. When we're rebuilding something, it's very different than building for the first time. If you think about a construction site, you got a blank slate. You can build that foundation. You can create anything you want. When you're rebuilding, you're stuck with a certain floor plan layout. The foundation might be there. It might have to be repaired, but you can rebuild. All right. Number 5.
Yes. Both parties need to be patient. The process will take as long as it takes. And I love that. So there is no like time frame, because when I've been a cheater before. When you're the cheater, this was a long time ago. I was in high school. But for me, and I'm saying this former cheater,
I think everyone's been there.
When you're the one, you want it to be over with. You're sick of hearing about it. I've apologized, but if that's not the right thing, right? You have to be cognizant of the other person. You have to be aware of their feelings and what's going on. So you can't just rush them through. Like, okay, now it's been 3 months and you just keep on asking me. I did it. So you have to be patient and make sure you're taking the time for that person to heal. It's not a short process. Now, being on the other side of that, because I've also been cheated on, I understand that. But when I was being the cheater, I'm like, now that's enough. Just get done with it. Hurry up.
Yes.
So
well said, sis. And this happens in the counseling process all the time. The cheater wants to rush it through. They should be over it. They should be over it. Wrong. I just spoke to a couple last week who are in this situation, and I let them know getting over the infidelity process is just like the grieving process. It's different for everybody. And you made this bed, you're going to have to lie in it. Like, you broke that trust. However long it takes is how long it takes. So either you're committed to this or you're not. The beautiful thing is time does heal. And the being consistent over time will rebuild that trust, where that person will stop asking and things like that. But what won't work is you saying, you should be over it. That's just going to set it off. Right? All right. The last 5. Be predictable. We were just talking about this. Number 6, be predictable. Be where you are supposed to be all the time, every time.
I love that because that helps the other person. Because what happened was you were taking time out to do whatever, if it was financial, if it was, I don't know, the 3, but whatever, you were taking time out to do something that was deceitful.
Yes, absolutely. Right. And that being predictable and where you say you're going to be every time on time, it will calm your partner's central nervous system. That your body is actually, their body is responding. That's where the anxiety, all kinds of things, not being able to eat, but being predictable will calm that nervous system. And having a calm nervous system is the physical term for feeling safe. Okay. 7, your words must match your actions. If you're not feeling okay, say so.
Which can be hard, right? Sometimes you're like, well, I don't want to go into this. I don't want to talk about it. I already know I disappointed the person, but it is a necessity. You have to do it.
Yeah, I love that. And it can be hard, especially when you feel like you have to say something that you know they're not going to want to hear. So that's good. Number 8, tell your partner what your needs are. This builds intimacy, and intimacy builds trust.
I love that.
No, thought you just love it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think it's
pretty
just,
real.
Yeah, you know, to the point.
Absolutely. And but to you, what you said about to the other part about your words matching your actions, telling your partner what your needs are is very hard. Oftentimes, the betraying partner got into cheating because they are not comfortable, nor do they have the skill set to say what their needs are. And so they seek it elsewhere rather than just saying, look, I don't feel seen in our relationship. I don't feel respected in this relationship. I need you to respect me or whatever. They don't say it. And it's hard, because saying what your needs are, if I admit to you that I need anything, I just became vulnerable. Most people are afraid of vulnerability, right? All right. Number 9, learn to say no. How can your partner trust you if you always say yes? How can you build trust if you say yes to something you do not want?
And I love that. So it's accountability on both parts, right? if you're a yes person and you never say no, they don't know what do you like this? I love everything. So now they don't know how to really treat you.
Yeah.
And so it can be shocking if you say no and they're like, you never say no to that. I thought you loved that. So that goes back to the very beginning of making sure you guys are communicating and saying what you need.
Yes. The Bible says, let your yes be yes and your no be no, right? And you letting your partners hear you say that no, they know you'll say no to the next temptation, whatever it may be. All right. And 10, learn to grow. We need to learn to examine our past despite the pain. We need to confess to problematic behaviors, past and present.
And I love that. So like I told you guys, being a former cheater, you have to grow and you have to know for yourself your triggers. And so I learned this long ago that, like, for me, it's not a part of it was not being able to communicate that I was not happy. I didn't want to leave the person, but I didn't want to also go it alone. So the growth for me is learning to be able to be truthful and transparent and telling the truth. I'm not happy. And I learned that. So now I will walk away before I do that, because the look on that person's eyes hurt me because I was the one doing it. And I couldn't face myself because I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's the growth that I learned personally.
That's powerful. And I love that you're admitting that in your young years, you did cheat, because I think everyone on this planet has some experience being betrayed and being a betrayer, right? Now, others, it becomes almost a thing of it in and of itself, like an issue they need help with because they can't stop. But we've all been on both sides of the coin, even if it's small, right? You may not have did some grand betrayal, but there's something. So I love that you shared that. I hope you found that the information we shared is helpful. Like we said, you can come out on the other side with an even stronger relationship, but there has to be a commitment. You first have to choose both parties. This is what we want. We want to rebuild our relationship. The betrayer, you've got to exhibit patience, understanding, and a sincere heart, sincerely being sorry and wanting to move forward. The one who's been betrayed, you've got to work on forgiveness, true forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Forgiveness doesn't mean what you did is okay. And forgiveness isn't for your partner who betrayed you. It's for you. Not forgiving is like drinking poison every single day that you wake up. All right. So
they asked, will it be a part 2? So I wanted to make sure
part 2
to make sure that we were aware of that. If you guys really want a part 2 with the cheater, no, I'm just playing.
They're gonna be in the witness protection. You know how the people had a voice disguiser. No, you're talking about yourself. I'm just joking. But
you guys, we can do that.
We can. I think that'll be great. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll do something there. So thank you all. It has truly been a pleasure. Don't forget to visit our Facebook page, You Plant, We Water. We'd love to hear from you about what other things, what other topics you'd like us to discuss. As you can see, it doesn't matter how taboo it is. We'll go for it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Take good care. And remember, you plant, we water.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
Views made on the preceding program are not those of WVTC Radio, iNetworks Communications, or their financial supporters.
Winning victory through Christ, WVTC Allsip Chicago, and iNetworks Communication Station.